Hey everyone, welcome back to the Widowed Parent Podcast Live. It's a exciting day, I should say. I've been doing these live stream interviews with different grief centers all month, which has been a lot of fun. And today, it's Saturday, I have a little different one for you guys. I'm here with live with Jaronika Dancy and Dr. Tracy Wells of Widowhood and We-Freshments. Tracy and Jaronika, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thanks. Hey, everybody.
It's we've just, and all the listeners haven't seen, we've just had the best time chatting. We probably should have started a long time ago, but we've been having way too much fun talking and getting to know each other. So I'm glad to share you guys with my listeners. So let's just jump right in. First of all, where are you guys located?
We are located not in the same city anymore. As of about a couple months ago, I'm located outside of St. Louis, Missouri, in the Metro Illinois area, in Tracy's Central Illinois.
Yeah. Okay. Terrific. And I think that most of your resources, I guess I would call them non-location specific. So we'll jump into that, and your resources and your videos and stuff you're doing. But let's just learn a little bit about you guys first. So you now have this platform called Widowhood and We-Freshments, but I want to explore a little bit. How did you guys get to, you're sitting in front of me, you're both widowed parents. Well, all three of us obviously are widowed parents.
Yep.
So can you, and I don't know who wants to go first, but Tracy?
Tracy.
Okay.
I'm glad we get to play rock, paper, scissors.
Okay, tell us a little bit about yourself, your family. How did you end up as a widowed parent?
I previously was a minister wife. My husband worked heavily, and I have worked heavily in the church. And he had a heart attack in our bedroom, and the ambulance didn't make there in time. So therefore, they could not resuscitate him. So he was pronounced dead at the hospital. So I want to say a month after he had transitioned, my girls were 6 at the time. Both of them are the age of 6, 1 month apart, no relation, another conversation. And one of my daughters just started burst out crying. And you have to know the difference between them having an outburst or they just need help with discipline issues. And so I said, I cannot handle this. I don't know what's going on. And their school counselor gave us the information about HeartLinks, which is a local resource, free resource in the area that we both used to live in. So because of that, I went ahead and took the girls there. When I went there, they have a little meeting space where they do group work with the students. And then the parents are supposed to go upstairs. I didn't want to go upstairs, but I was forced to out of my way. So I went upstairs. I know, right? So I went upstairs, and it was this foyer of all these people talking adults, and I met her in one of those meetings, and it was very overwhelming for me to see other people like ourselves that's going through and hear their different stories. So that's how I met Jaronika.
So mine goes a little different because I don't recall that meeting. I never recall that meeting. So how did I become a widowed parent? My husband owned a moving company. We owned a moving company together. He was actually doing some work in Chicago, moving a couple, and he actually also had a heart attack. He had a heart attack in the middle of the move and died in Chicago. And so that was a pretty immediate thing for us. And we were just out to dinner and having a good time with my sister-in-law. We had just got back from a soccer game, and I woke up and did all of that, and on my way to the zoo to realize that now I'm a widow. Subsequently, knowing my son and knowing, so I have a 13-year-old son who just recently turned 13, and knowing him, he was 8 at the time. He's just a very emotional individual. I knew we could not survive this next phase of our life without some sort of counseling. So pretty quickly after that, I immediately, called around and got some resources, and I ended up at HeartLinks probably about a year before Tracy. About a year and a half, 2 years before Tracy. And so we, again, as she mentioned, the kids do their own grief groups, individual based on age groups. And so we had been there some time. That group that was in the foyer, as she mentioned, that was all the widowed parents or the, parenting alone, as they mentioned, because it didn't need to be a parent. It could just be somebody that was a guardian or somebody that take care of the kids. So I actually don't remember meeting Tracy that day. I'm
I
sorry.
remember meeting her.
I don't remember. I subsequently remember her after our group had expanded and we moved to the basement.
Really?
It had gotten really big, and I just remember her for the first time coming in, and she sat next to me and she kept saying, "Are they gonna cry the whole time?" And I think by this point we were over a year and a half. I had been about 2.5 years into my grief, and she had been over a year and a half. So I think our change, and we got back together earlier this year.
Yes, correct.
I teach music, and I manage lots of choirs and youth across the metro Illinois area. And I encouraged her to bring her girls out because one of her girls really loves to sing and the other one's a dancer. And so that's how we got reconnected, and we stayed connected. And here we are. We looked at each other a couple months ago and made the decision to come together.
Right, to add on to what she stated. So in June, I always wanted to do some type of podcast like you're doing. And I didn't want to do it by myself. I think it'd be fun if you have a co-person doing it with you. And I'm a jokester naturally. And she's the one that, give me an eat and kill, I say. So I'm trying to taper it down a little bit. And so with that being said, we would come together and just have conversations either on the phone. And I said, I think she'll be a cool person to do our conversations live with Facebook. And so she said, I am most definitely ready to do this. I said, oh, okay. So we had our first, introduction in July, and then it has been us ever since.
Yeah. So so I want to hear all about that. And let me just make sure I have it straight though. So let's see, Tracy, you've been about 4 years out, and Jaronika, you're about 5 years out.
I'm 4 years out.
You're 4 years out.
I'm going on 5 years, and I'm going on 3.
4. It's been 2016 this year on October 15th.
October.
Made 4 years for me.
Gotcha. And see, January 2018, so it's going on 3 years for me.
Gotcha. Okay. And I'll be 5 years in January. So 2016, but January, and you're at the end of the year, so that, I guess, is what.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And your kids, let's see, Tracy, your kids were 6. And Jaronika, your son was 8.
8.
Okay.
Yep, he was 8.
All right. So just to kind of like place everybody in the
age
age
groups. His birthday was like days before, days after.
Ooh.
So it kind of was one of those weird periods. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So now you guys reconnected this year, started talking about all this stuff. Said let's do a show, right?
Yep.
So tell us what. And so you've named it Widowhood and We-Freshments. So tell us about the name first of all.
Well, I didn't want to just include widows, the women. I also wanted to include men, because one thing I realized at the, parenting alone, we didn't have that many men, but there would be men that actually showed up to tell their stories and wanted to get assistance. So I wanted to include everyone, not just one set. So that's why I came up with the widowhood part. But the refreshments was a little different. I'm a little interesting, as people already know me to be. And I know that everybody has a different favorite drink. So she loves wine and water. I'm more of the juice, but I'm getting more familiar with wine. But I know everybody have their favorite go-to or a favorite thing they like to do when they're listening to different podcasts or even audibles. So therefore, let's make it more interesting to, grab more attention. So instead of saying refreshments like the regular spelling, let's put it as we, my sign language is coming in effect. We are doing this together and we are refreshing ourselves. So that's where the whole thought of the we-freshman came into place.
Yeah, cool. And as you say this, I've got my coffee right here. It's still morning my time, so that's what I'm working on now.
Thank you. And we have our refreshments.
There you go. I love it in all your videos. You I think you start off or end off by saying Widowhood and We-Freshments.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so tell us about your videos. So you have, I think, quite a lot of videos at this point. What are you doing with the videos?
So we have about 20 plus videos at this point, and the videos we've talked about different areas or topics that have really plagued us, right? Things that we went through and we had a really strong connection or experience to. And so that's kind of where we started on our base in terms of what our content would be. things that we felt like we wanted to have a conversation about, we wanted to share a perspective on. And so they range everything from the first 5 minutes before finding out that your spouse passed to the 5 minutes after.
Correct.
All the way through. Our most recent content was family grieving. So we brought in Tracy's brother came and did an episode because he really kept saying, I want to talk about my experience. I want to talk about
and I was scared.
how I was grieving. But he took 2 episodes, but it was really good. And then we also have a video specifically where our kids wanted to share their experience. Oh. So the videos range because I think people forget that kids have a voice too.
They do.
And they kept saying, well, we want to be on your show. We want to be on your show. I want to talk about my dad. I want to talk about my dad. And so we gave them their own episode where they got to talk about their experience and where they are today. So our content just can be anything from areas from that particular space to one of Tracy's favorite videos is what to say and what not to say. It seems to be everybody's favorite video.
Well, I want to hear about that one. Yeah.
So we specifically point on that video about things that you should say and things that you should not say. That's kind of
and the reason why we did it because everything is not going to be a sad video. We don't want everything to be sad and grievous. You know, there are some funny things about life after that you're like, you know what, that was kind of funny. When you think about it later, at the moment you might be fired mad or you might be really upset. But in that moment, you're like, okay, this is what really happened. And this is why it's funny now. Yeah. But the what to say, what not to say, I still had to tell people 2 years later that my husband passed away. And I was like, oh God, I got to go through this process again. And the first thing they say to you is, oh, I'm so sorry.
And I don't like that. I'm so sorry. Yeah, we do that. So for me, it's I'm sorry because I always say, what are you sorry for?
We didn't do anything.
And I know I watch movies, I hear my family, and they still do it. So we really wanted to focus on other phrases you could say that would be appropriate. So one of the biggest platforms we have is meeting people where they are and supporting them in the way they need to be supported. And part of that is language. It's communication. Yes. Tracy doesn't say death. She says transition.
Correct.
So when I talk to her about her spouse, I use the term transition. But if it's about my spouse, I say death.
I try to say death.
She doesn't have to, but it doesn't bother me, right? It's one of those, it doesn't bother me if she says it. Yeah. It's one of those things. And then one of the things she always says is when people ask, because everybody says, how are you doing? And before you say the name, before you say your major phrase, you said, ooh, because that's what we're like, do you really want to know how I'm doing? Or is that the courteous thing to say? So her response to that is always,
I'm a work in progress.
And then what do you prefer that they say?
I prefer to ask me, is today a good day? So I will model that to people and I'll say, is today a good day? Because even if you are talking to somebody that you don't know, you can ask that question and that's a true concern. And whatever they got to say, you are going to take it as is. But if you just ask me, how are you doing? And I said, ooh, I got a really bad bunion that won't stop. My head hurts and I haven't slept a week in 3 days. You be like, oh, I wasn't ready for that. But thank you for the information. Because you really don't have a response to help me.
Right.
You just being curious or you just want to know some information about my transition after.
Or you just think that's the right thing to say.
Right.
Well, and it's, to me, that's such a hard question because it's like, okay, who's asking? Do they really want to know?
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Like, and what level are they asking on? Like, existentially, how am I doing? Or, you know, and do I happen to be, you know, not ill and well slept today? You know, or like, am I like the minor to the major? And then I just shut down. I don't know how to answer it. You know?
And sometimes I play with people and I know I shouldn't do that. She does. But I will play with you. And that's part of the research part of me. But I will play with them. I may say something crazy like what I just said to see what their response will be. Yeah. You know, some people like, okay, I'll pray for you. I say, okay. And then other people are like, okay, let's change the subject. My point exactly.
So I think that is today a good day sets the stage no matter if you're talking to somebody that's grieving or not grieving.
Yeah.
They'll say, today's actually not a great day. I had a hard day at work. Or they'll say, it's okay. And they may just shut the conversation down and it ends it. You don't feel like you have to give them more. You don't feel like you have to go in. Like when somebody says, how are you doing? You're like, well, you know, and you feel like you have to have a conversation. You do.
Well, and you think about even those smaller interactions through the day. If you go through a drive-through line somewhere and the person, you know, says, if they were to say, is today a good day? you could be like, yeah, not bad, if you didn't really want to talk about it, right? Or
Right.
you
But
could
you're
be
so
like,
happy.
yeah, you could be like, it's a great day, it's my birthday, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And then and so it kind of leaves the person on the receiving end of the question open to take it or not take it, whichever direction they
Correct.
want with what they say. I love that. I'm
Absolutely.
gonna have to write that one down. That's a good one.
I tell people
I
you could
stole
take
it.
it. You could take it. If it's going to benefit you, you can have it.
Yeah, yeah. Great. Okay. Well, so and what are some of the other topics then that you've covered in some of your other favorite videos?
We also have topics regarding, are you grieving widow or have you already grieved? That was an interesting topic for me.
And it came from one of our viewers.
Correct.
So the comment to us was, are you a grieving widow or are you a widow who has grieved?
Oh,
So
interesting.
it was very interesting. We walked
very.
away and we had to think about it, but the ultimate, we came back to an agreement and we walked away separately and thought for ourselves.
Correct.
And then came back and said, now let's talk about it. Let's respond in a video. And we ultimately came to the same place saying, we're a grieving widow. My mother's a two-time widow. She's a two-time widow. And I asked her the same question. And she says, well, I'm a grieving widow. She says, I'm always a widow and I'm at different phases. But even as I'm almost 40, she says to me, and she says, I think about life moments and that your dad is missed. And that's exactly the same place we have.
Correct.
Our kids both, all of our birthdays are in October and November.
Isn't that weird?
It's very strange.
Wow. So you've just been through.
We had my son just became a teenager. We're going through a pandemic. There's so many different milestones and things that I go back and I constantly am going, man, wish my husband was here.
Right.
Or I wish I had him to call or to share this moment with. So that's why I think we ultimately said we are grieving widows. Even if I remarry, and God willing, I'm going to say I will, when I remarry and find somebody, not my husband, but it's, he's going to be my new husband.
Correct.
I will always
bonus husband.
I will always be a widow because that was my husband and that's my son's father.
Right.
So it doesn't take the fact that there's a connection with the milestones that'll happen.
Yeah.
I never, and this is the biggest one that I say, this happened to me. I didn't choose it. It's unlike in divorce where a lot of people make a choice to separate, or even whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent.
Correct.
When you are a widow, it happened.
It happened.
It's a fact.
Changes the whole perspective.
Right? Yes.
It's final. There is no sharing the moments or making a choice to do better or to connect or to co-parent. This is what I have.
There's no undoing it, right?
Correct.
Exactly. So,
and another, I want to say 2 more episodes that I also enjoyed was Accountability Partners.
Yeah.
Jaronika did a great job on that. She steered that conversation very well. And the other conversation topic episode that we had was triggers, because triggers happens to everyone, regardless if you're a widow or in widowhood or divorce or just a person that has natural trauma in their life. You will have some type of trigger, whether it's a positive or negative, and how you process that and how you deal with it determine where you are in that moment. And I talked about a particular triggering moment. It was one of the episodes, and I think a lot of people had different things to say, and they never had a spouse loss or even divorce. So they said, yes, I remember when my grandmother died. Yes, I remember when a childhood friend passed away, and this is what happened, and it would remind me. And I go through these triggers, but I thank you for saying that we have to deal with those moments, because if you don't deal with those moments, they could come back to you in a very violent way that you probably don't want to see happen. So we have those type of episodes on there as well.
Terrific.
And happy. We do a gamut of not being too heavy all the time.
Right.
Because grief doesn't have to always be heavy.
Correct.
That's
and we try to have some fun. We can.
You definitely have
fun.
Talk
about dating. Oh, dating app. We do talk about.
You talk about that,
yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you have to, whether you're dating or not. We have to address it. And honestly, we get a lot of divorcees that comment on our dating videos. It's a very different audience, but I think for them, it's a different type of grief. It's not a real permanent, tangible grief in the way that we know grief as widows, but it's a grief for them because they lost a love they didn't think they were going to lose. It's a separation of relationship. So I was surprised, and that's the way they explained it to me. Oh, dating and stuff. And I'm like, oh, okay, we've connected the two.
I said,
I'm okay with that. You're going through grief. It's just a different type of grief.
Yeah. And Jaronika, did Tracy say you did one on accountability partners?
I
did.
Yeah, so we do them together, but whatever the episode
feels
is,
that spirit is
so
very
I'm
important.
a huge component of accountability partners across your life as it pertains to, doesn't matter where you're going. And for me, especially in being a widow, the accountability partner is very important. And the reason it's important is because who do you have to talk to?
Right.
You know, who are you going through? And we've sat through, and a lot of our conversations even come from in widows that we've encountered. Yes. And a lot of them talk to me, and I've heard the story, which I feel so sad about, is I don't have anyone.
And I was like, no, yes, you do.
But, you know, and finding a person that you have in your darkest moments, but also in your happiest moments when you're celebrating. And so we really focused on finding somebody that you felt comfortable with. It doesn't have to be a family member. It doesn't have to be somebody that you've known 25 years and you thought they would be there with you through the entire thing and you felt like they just disappeared. It's just finding somebody that you feel comfortable with and they respect the space that you're in.
It could be a boss, it could be a coworker that you just met 2 days ago.
But they also can hold you accountable. So if
be objective.
I always say that because the hardest thing is your family members either want to coddle you,
correct,
or they want to push you too fast, too hard because they think you should be done grieving.
That is so true.
An accountability partner allows you to be in the space that you're in, whatever timeline that needs to be, but also reminds you that there's still life after.
After.
And especially if you have little people.
Yes. Well, so this is reminding me of something we were chatting about before we jumped on and started recording. You were talking about Widowhood and We-Freshments and some of the, I don't know if services is the right word, but you know, the stuff you guys are doing to support widowed people. And you talked about accountability partners as part of that. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so I mean, I think Tracy and I like to think of ourselves as accountability partners. We are extremely polar opposites, believe it or not, in terms of how we handle people and deal with people. But we found that there's people that need all different types of accountability.
Correct.
So a lot of folks, and as you mentioned, the word services is kind of it's an odd word, but in terms of what we do, but we are there as a liaison and support. Yes. Really, so we have folks that connect with us via messaging on Facebook, or even direct messaging, or even they find us, they've heard about us through somebody else. So we've met them in the streets, or whatever service they've done. And really they need somebody. So a lot of the conversations are, I need somebody to talk to. It's late. I have nobody to call, or even, I don't even know where to get started to get support, or my child is grieving. I don't know what to do, because that's a real thing. I went through that. I was like, oh my gosh, she's crying.
I did too. And that's why I said, Heart Legs,
where are you? So what we try to do is show up when nobody else will.
And that's the whole point of the videos, because those videos are 24 access. So if anybody needs to see those videos, sometimes, matter of fact, 2 days ago, I was, wasn't ready to go sleep. My brain did not shut off yet. That's what I mean. I wasn't ready to go sleep. And because of that, I just went back onto Widowhood and We-Freshments videos, and I watched a couple of our episodes as well again, because there was some information. I said, oh, I didn't even know we said that, but thank you, because it helped. It can actually help you in moments when you're not ready. Like stated before, we still grieve. Now, our grief is not the same as when our partners initially, went through, but we still have moments where even we need some extra assistance, and especially that time of night, can't just call anybody on the phone. We put those videos out so they can always go back as a reference of what you can do to help yourself go through in that moment, because you will have moments, and it's okay. Yeah. We make sure people know it's okay to have moments, and you are not alone. Even though you may feel in that physical presence that you are, but when you actually see those videos, you are not by yourself. And that's the whole purpose of them. And if you do need those resources, and if we could find a way to help you through technology, because she's more the technology person, that's so hard. We will look through Google with you, or we will look at different resources that can get you to the point that you need to be, so that if you need counseling, if you need someone to talk to, let's go ahead and get you set up with the right person that will help you with your
needs. Now we'll utilize you as one of the resources.
Yeah,
thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So, okay, so that's terrific though. So it sounds like your Facebook page is kind of the hub of your activity that you have available for people.
Yes.
And so you've got videos that you publish. Is there a certain frequency that those come out?
Well, they were very frequent when we first started, and now they're about 1 to 2 a week. Plus, in the meantime, we do post out content.
Correct.
So we did a
Okay.
video specifically on insurance and doing a life
Yes.
insurance checkup.
Yes.
So if the topic specifically has resources that are applicable, we make sure and kind of flood and make that week all about that. So our life insurance checkup was a big one. We talked about
Really
life
big
insurance
one. Yes.
and the nuances. My background in HR, I really understand how company life insurance works. So I can understand how those different various points is because I've been in it for so long. And then I could do that so we can have those real conversations about things you need to think about. We're connected to people that do life insurance and all of that. So then we provided content after that.
Right.
Right.
The resources.
So that you could go through just to remind you that there are things that now you don't wait for it to happen.
No.
And you prepare differently now that you're widows, because now all the people that watch our content are widows. And so if it ever happens, you're prepared. And now that, or if you now are a widow, how can I get things back on track? Maybe I was a stay-at-home mom.
Right. And
Right.
you need resources of how to get jobs. How about interviewing? Let's see, do you even know how to go through an interview process? Because now you are the main breadwinner. How can we help you to get your resume? How can we help you? And because she's HR, I even looked to her like, what do you think about my resume? She did a lot of red points on that. I had a little attitude. I just want to put that out there. But we're better. We're not better. So yeah.
Well, and I think that people can see in our discussion here too how much fun you guys have talking together in your videos. I mean, I watched some of your videos, and that really comes. It's warm, it's friendly, it's also real. Like and
yes,
real, raw,
and uncut.
Yeah. Can you talk about a little bit like why it's important to you to be so real about it?
Because I think over the years, and maybe when I first became a widow, my counselor recommended books because there was not a lot of, people doing more blunt and just in your face conversations about the real points of view of a grieving widow or widower. And they were out there, but they're not really exposed like other content are in the main feed of Facebook, Instagram, because who really want to talk about death? That's not a topic that people want to discuss, but it's with us. COVID has really brought it back to our faces, right?
For sure.
So with that being said, we have to bring this out. Yes, it is gruesome, and we have to be honest. Sugarcoating, coddling is not acceptable.
You lose credibility.
And we don't want to do that.
No, I mean, you lose credibility because people, they are already asking the questions. And no, we're not celebrities, nor are we trying to be celebrities.
No.
But I have so many people that are afraid to be honest and transparent about what they're going through. Now, there's a way to talk about things, and there's a way you can talk about them so that you don't feel as if you're exposing too much or you're putting your way, stepping on people. But we remind everybody it's from our perspective.
Correct.
This is
take it or leave it.
Right. See, I'm not even blunt right now. So it's not everybody's opinion. But what it is it is too different. Like,
correct.
There are many videos where we are not on the same page.
Night and day.
And I think it's important because the realness is what brings people to us and make them more feel connected. Our families know us.
Yes.
So when they turn on a video and they're like, oh, you were telling the truth. And you have people, and then it becomes a spread of you weren't being fake for the end. And honestly, I want people to be prepared and know that you can make it out of it. You can come through.
After.
So
yes.
you see TV movies and you see women that are under, or men that are, you see men be so stoic and strong and nothing's getting to them. Their wife has passed and they just are shut down. And then women are crying and they're laying under a blanket and they're drinking hot cocoa or wine and they're just falling apart. That's not always the truth.
It's not always the truth.
And then you don't get to see the kids. Like, what do you have to
talk
do
about the children
with the babies?
Yes.
Because to me, how can you take care of yourself, babies, if you can't take care of yourself? So it's important to show that Tracy had a trigger today. So our episode was focused on triggers. I talked about how we needed to be accountable. That's real. and Tracy had went through a dating moment. So we had a whole live video on just some date. And that's how real it was. Like, we will be sitting together and be like, we need to go live. So
Like, okay.
like, you went through something. I'm like, okay, let's talk about it, because I want people to realize that we're still living.
Yes.
We're still going through. We're still widows. But we want you to know that we can help you find some way, and it's okay to be honest. And if you don't have anybody to be honest with, that's okay. Come be honest with your sisters, your family. We'll listen to you and won't tell your secret.
We will not.
That's awesome. I love it. So, okay, well, so if people are listening and thinking about, you know, can I really talk to you guys or reach out to you guys? Like, so they reach out to you through your Facebook page? Like, how, like, what, I don't know, how can you be helpful? You've got the videos, and, like, those are available. Yep. Like you said, 24/7, people can come and watch them whenever they want to. But I think also, like when we were talking before, you said you're providing some other support or peer, you know, listening or talking or accountability partners or whatever. Like, how can you be helpful with that other
on
stuff?
every video that we have, there is a comment section, and people do provide their input on that comment section, and we will do as quickly as we can reply. However, we also have a platform that in the Facebook, and it still remain anonymous, meaning we don't have your telephone number, we don't have your email address,
we'll have your name.
I mean, you have your name because, you know, whatever name you put for Facebook is going to be shown to us.
Sure. Yeah.
But you know, no. So if they send us a direct message, a private message, that's my new thing. I learned that DM means direct message. But because of that,
they can be as anonymous as they want to be from others. So they can direct message us. They can also email us at Widowhood We-Freshments at Gmail.
No hyphen.
So no hyphen, no and at gmail.com.
So there's many more ways to communicate with us if you don't want us to know you personally, but you still want some information.
If you, and I don't even think it's that. I think more people just don't want other people in their business.
And that's fine too.
They just want to get to us directly without the world, because Facebook is it's not a private page. Right. There's so many other people. So you could either send us a private message on that page or send an email. The email's attached there. We're hoping in 2021 to have a website.
Yeah.
But as we are working towards just really solidifying, we obviously have an Instagram and a YouTube, but I would say the quickest, fastest way to get to us is Facebook or an email, just because we're on that more frequently. And it's just a little bit more available, and the readiness is just there.
Yes, and because we just got started in July, we didn't know where this was going to go. We just wanted to do a little pilot study, the pilot study, to figure out what is our angle, where should we go with this? Because now that we realize it truly is widespread, and we making ourselves more available to a multiplex of different types of people and needs, then we realize that 2021, let's get some other things in the works so that we can be more prepared. We even got something coming up, hopefully, Lord's willing, September, October of next year that Miss Dancy have put in my ear, and I said, I'm running with it. So we are excited about a future, maybe another platform, especially if COVID is allowing us to platform to do soon.
We'll see what COVID does.
Yeah. Oh, that is exciting. And one of the things, I think that we talked about this before we started recording. It's hard to remember because we've been having this terrific conversation. It's been so much fun. But I don't want to repeat things for listeners that, that we've already covered. But I think you said that, if people are looking for resources, support, someone to talk to, someone to listen, even if they're not in Illinois or near you guys, that they could reach out and say, I am in this location. Can you help me figure out what my next step should be to get some help or that kind of thing?
We'll go do some research for them. And we've done that. We've had a couple folks. We've had some Georgia, Arkansas, New Jersey. And we're building our network and our platform to be able to connect them with somebody local. Because it's okay to have the virtual conversations, but if you have an ability to be in person or present, I think that a lot of people look for that as well. So we're connecting folks, and we'll kind of go and do a little bit of that research for you. So if you say, I'm newly widowed or I've been a widow and I don't know where to start, my recommendation always is go, if you're working, see, does your company have EAP? That's a great resource. You can start there. And that is Employee Assistance Program. And usually they have counseling services through there. Teledoc is one. There's so many myriad of different ones that companies offer, but the standard is Employee Assistance Program. And they have counselors already attached to their program, and they're free. Normally, most companies offer them free. And then what we do is I've started to kind of research what are your, such as yourself through the national alliances of grief partners, so grief counseling and stuff. And then I go ask questions. Like, I'm not just going to pick somebody and send you to them.
Right.
I'm going to go start to do a little bit of research so
Right.
that you're not alone in this, and we can help you find the right partner, because not every counselor is for every person.
No, and I have actually, and I'm just going to be a little real and uncut right now. I was actually turned down by a grief counselor, which I heard is a big no-no. But you will get counselors that will turn you down and says, I cannot help you, which is very rude and disrespectful. So on that kind of note, if you ever run into a situation like that, that counselor may not have been for you, but there will be somebody that is able to assist you, and we will help you. Don't give up. If a counselor have ever said that to you before, because it has happened to me, so I am aware. And also keep in mind that when we're looking for resources for you, sometimes if you have children, the counselors at the school can also refer you to someone that can help you. Because that's how I got referred to Heartlinks. It was through my kids' school.
I think that's how I was referred to.
The counselors and social workers at the school actually know other resources. So if you do have children, that may be another resource to take. And we give people hospitals, we give people avenues of that to think about. And sometimes they have already reached out and you may have forgot, because so much have happened within that first month. Yeah. So we always bring that back to people's perspectives and understanding.
Yeah, no, that's terrific. It's okay. So I feel like I should ask each of you now, because we could keep talking all day, right?
But we can't, right? But we can't.
Right. So, I always like to ask my guests on the show one kind of wrap-up question. It's always so interesting to hear what people say. So I'll ask each of you guys, and whoever wants to go first can jump right in.
No, because I'm not ready.
I'm always ready to talk.
Okay, Tracy, we'll start with you then. If you could say one thing to newly widowed parents, what would you say to them?
Your life is not over. I will say that. Your life is not over. Take one moment at a time. Just like that old Christmas movie, put one foot in front of the other. And soon
you'll be walking out the door.
Oh, you got it. You be walking up, you may not be at the door. You might just got off the couch for 5 seconds and sat back down, and it's okay. Yeah. You took that one step, and it's okay.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Thank you. Great. Okay.
I was ready. That was short and to the point, wasn't it?
That was awesome. So, Jaronika, no pressure.
Okay. If I could say one thing, say that again.
You can say more than one if you like, but just as a kind of a, if you could say one thing to newly widowed parents, what would you say to them?
Well, I would say you're not alone. That's my thing. You're not alone. You're not alone today, tomorrow, or in the future.
Correct.
You have a support system, whether or not you recognize it or not. And you also have your children. So while you're going through it, they're going through it. And I have to remind myself that there are other parents that are going through it. And what it looks like isn't the same for all of us. So I'm going to be as good as I am today, so I can be even better tomorrow. And that's my encouragement. I mean, I have to think about it. Like, I was like, what would I say? Because I that's what I say to myself every day. I'm not alone. I have my child. I have the family that I have, but most importantly, I have a larger support system that sometimes I forget that I have. And this is in everything that I'm doing is worth doing. Every step I take, as you mentioned, every foot I put in front of the other is worth taking. So
just keep swimming.
Just keep swimming. We say that a lot, just keep swimming. That's our song.
Yeah, I love that. I just thought of one more question that seems appropriate. Okay. Is today a good day?
You know what? Today is a great day. Hear me. I told you on this resort, I'm looking out into the weather. The weather's not nice,
but it's good. Today is a good day. Today is a great day for me because we have moved through and we're helping others to move through.
Yes.
We're not through, but we move through one piece
Correct.
and we're to the next piece.
Yes.
And sometimes a piece is the day, right? We just moved through yesterday and we just made it to today. But honestly, we're in a place where we're able to start helping others to move through. And so to me, today is a great day.
Great.
Yes.
And this is a great platform. So this is really good. We're excited.
So,
Well, this
thank
has been
you,
so
Jenny.
much fun. Yeah, it's a great way to get up on a Saturday and start off the day by hanging out with you two, virtually speaking, of course. But maybe someday I'll be in Illinois and we can hang out in person.
Yes.
Or we can come to the West Coast. There's
Oh,
nothing.
yes,
It's
I
probably
have not
nicer
been,
weather.
so
Probably
I'm
nicer
ready.
weather.
Oh, you haven't? Oh, yes, you definitely.
All
Of course.
I've been to Las Vegas. That's it.
Okay, well, that's not exactly West Coast, but yes, it is. But it is west, if I grant it, from where you are, yes. Well, we'll just have to get this pandemic over with, and then all kinds of possibilities will open up. So let me ask you, before you leave, where can people find you guys online?
You can find us on Facebook under Widowhood and We-Freshments. And when you come on, you can just like us, follow, and share. And then we'll look through the invites. And if you come on, we'll just accept you as a person to be on our page.
There's no acceptance. She forgot. They just can like our page. There's only
it is
comments.
acceptance. Like, we got to accept these people.
No, ma'am.
I'll be accepting people.
Well, I think we established that Jaronika is the technical one here. So
I let her answer, but the real answer is you can find us on Facebook at Widowhood and We-Freshments, or you can find us on Instagram at Widowhood and We-Freshments, or on YouTube at Widowhood and We-Freshments. We're in 3 platforms. You can reach out to us at Gmail, Widowhood and We-Freshments. And as one of our child likes to say, ring the notification bell, like, follow, subscribe, and you can get us there 24/7, as Tracy said.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so, and again, it's Widowhood and We-Freshments.
All We-Freshing.
Yes.
Yeah, great. Okay, well, Jaronika and Tracy, it's so great speaking with you today. Thank you.
Thanks, Jenny.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.